What's up, guys? My name's Brandon and welcome back to Apple Weekly. This past week was very active with several software releases and a good amount of leaks and rumors. So to start the week, we finally got the public release of iOS 15.5 and all the other software, and then a few days later we got the first beta of iOS 15.6. So we're going to discuss both versions of iOS in this video and talk about how they've been running along with the important security updates that 15.5 brings. And then after we discuss the software, we're going to talk about why Apple's AR/VR headset might be here before we expect it, some more iOS 16 leaks, how AirPods could blow your eardrums, a new HomePod coming soon, and more. And of course, as always, if you guys want to stay updated with all things Apple, make sure to click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss next week's Apple Weekly episode. All right, so let's start off by talking about the iOS 15.5 release. So this is the first public release in over a month, and it came with a few changes. I've been loving the podcast change when you go into podcast right here and then go to the settings for the podcast and then the automatically download section right here. If you set this to like the 5 latest, it will just go ahead and remove the other downloads. I've been enjoying that. It's actually been saving me some space already. So that's one feature that was included with 15.5, along with a few other really small ones. But I think the biggest reason that you should consider updating to 15.5 if you haven't done so already is the security side of things. There are several security patches, like 25 plus security patches in this update that fix up some kernel bugs, some WebKit bugs, some Wi-Fi bugs, and more. So we don't always see that many security patches. So iOS 15.4 and 15.4.1 have a lot of vulnerabilities that are still opened up. So that's, again, a big reason I would go ahead and update to 15.5 if you haven't done so already. I know the features are boring, but the security side of things makes it worth updating. And then I did also want to briefly touch on universal control, because with iOS 15.5, it came out of beta. It no longer says beta next to universal control in your settings on the iPad and the Mac. But I have to say, universal control feels exactly the same as it did in beta, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it worked fine for me, but don't expect things to get, much better just because it's out of beta now. It runs exactly the same as it did beforehand. Now, I did also want to mention the nasty bug that's out there affecting iOS 15.4 through 15.5 and even the 15.6 beta. And it's actually a bug that disables iMessage and FaceTime with no way to turn it back on unless you get a new SIM card. That's right, iMessage and FaceTime just randomly disable, and you cannot re-enable them unless you get a new SIM card. So this is apparently, like I said, been going on since iOS 15.4, and it's still not patched in 15.5. And you can see here Mark Gurman tweeted out about this. He said, "There's a very nasty iPhone and T-Mobile bug where iMessage and FaceTime for a device's phone number will randomly deactivate, and there is no way to reactivate it. The only solution that worked for me is getting a new physical SIM card, an extremely disappointing issue. Another solution flagged to me by some is removing your eSIM account from the iPhone and setting that up again." And then he posted a follow-up tweet to say that T-Mobile reached out to say they are working with Apple on trying to resolve the issue. Sounds early though. T-Mobile saying it's an iCloud/Apple ID related problem. So that's pretty interesting, and this is something I think can definitely lead to an iOS 15.5.1 sometime relatively soon, especially now that a notable figure, is bringing this to the limelight. I'm sure people have been talking about this for a while, but now that Mark Gurman and a lot of others are actually being notified of this, I'm sure Apple will go ahead and fix that. So with that being said, I would expect a 15.5.1 sometime in the coming weeks to patch that issue. But anyways, finishing up on 15.5, overall, the update is great. Performance and battery life are both about the same as they were on 15.4.1. To me, I think battery life and performance are a little bit better, just slightly, but it's not going to be a massive difference from 15.4.1 unless you had battery drain issues. I know some people said their battery drain was not fixed with 15.4.1 and they updated, and now they're saying it is fixed on 15.5. So if you have any issues, those could be resolved, but overall 15.5 is a solid update. Not anything too exciting, but again, it's great for those security patches and potentially better performance. Now, as far as iOS 15.6 beta 1, and that's what I'm running right now on my iPhone 13 Pro Max here, and this is the most boring first beta I can ever remember. The only thing that's changed are just a few strings in the code code related to accessibility. But I will say, after using 15.6 beta 1, the performance is a little bit worse than 15.5, and battery life is about the same. It seems a little bit worse, but I'm just going to give it the benefit of the doubt and just say it's the same as 15.5, but performance is underwhelming on 15.6 beta 1. So if you've not updated to 15.6 beta 1 yet, I would hold off. I would wait until at least beta 2 and just stay on 15.5 for now. You're really not gaining anything by being on 15.6 beta 1 anyways, so you may as well just stick with the better performance and probably the better battery life as well on 15.5. All right, so now what is next for Apple? So next up is either going to be 15.5.1 or 15.6 beta 2. So as far as iOS 15.6 goes, I do believe Apple is on a 2-week cycle to begin. So that puts us at about May 31st through June 2nd as potential release dates for beta 2 of 15.6, sometime in between there. Now, I could also see Apple releasing a 15.5.1 within the next 2 weeks as well, maybe even as early as next week. But it seems like that issue may be a little bit complex, so I'm not sure if Apple's going to be able to fix it so easily, but we'll have to wait and see. But thanks to that, T-Mobile and SIM card bug, I do think we are going to see a 15.5.1 sooner rather than later, especially since 15.6 is not going to be released until the end of June. I don't see Apple letting that bug slide for a whole month. And then of course, we're just a couple of weeks away from seeing iOS 16 get revealed right there on Monday, June 6th. I will be live streaming here on the channel, so I cannot wait for that. And that of course is the most anticipated release of all. All right, so now let's move on to the latest Apple news. So let's kick things off with some WWDC and iOS 16 news. So when asked about iOS 16, Mark Gurman at Bloomberg said this: "While I don't expect Apple to present a full redesign of the software, there should be major changes across the system, new ways of interacting, and some fresh Apple apps. The news about watchOS 9 will be significant as well." And that sounds about right. I mean, almost every leak that has come out recently has been exactly what I reported on here on the channel over a month ago, like 2 months ago. So you guys got the early scoop if you followed those videos, those leak videos I did for iOS 16. And speaking of iOS 16, the public beta might be coming later than usual this time around, according to Gurman, who said this: "iOS 16's first public beta is scheduled alongside iOS 16 Developer Beta 3 in July. First iOS betas are typically released alongside Beta 2. That means the public beta may be running behind. Current internal seeds are a bit buggy. Things are still fluid and could shift." So that's pretty interesting to hear and kind of leads you to believe that iOS 16 is going to have more features than we think if it's going to be that buggy on the initial build. So I'd imagine more people than normal will also be downloading the developer beta this time around, and I'll hear a lot of complaints and a lot of people having bricked devices this year. Now, as for the actual event, he says Apple's developer conference will be held virtually and span the entire week. The big news will be on Monday when the company holds its annual keynote address to announce its latest software and other products. The key here being other products, which just further indicates that we should be seeing at least one new piece of hardware at this event, but hopefully even more. But the one product we thought for sure was coming is apparently not coming now, and that is the higher end Apple display with mini LED, which was rumored to be called the Studio Display Pro. And this is pretty unexpected because again, we thought this would be coming in June alongside a new mega powerful Mac Pro, but the likelihood of that is now dwindling. And this comes from Ross Young, who tweeted this out: "The 27-inch mini LED monitor has been delayed as it was going to be produced in Quanta in Shanghai, which has been locked down. Production is in progress of being moved to a different location and has been delayed. It now looks like an October release." So it went from June to October. That is quite the delay. And the bad news is that these China lockdowns are not only going to impact this display, it's going to impact pretty much everything Apple has planned. And that's not good news at all, but let's just hope that everything gets better soon. Now, another product that we thought could be at the Worldwide Developers Conference, but now we pretty much have confirmation that it's not coming yet, is a new HomePod. And that's because Ming-Chi Kuo just reported that we should expect a new generation of HomePod at the end of this year or early next year. He said, quote, "Apple would release a new version of HomePod in the fourth quarter or the first quarter of 2023, and there may not be much innovation in hardware design. Smart speakers are undoubtedly one of the essential elements of the home ecosystem, but I think Apple is still figuring out how to succeed in this market. So it sounds like this could be the new version of the HomePod that would be sized in between the original HomePod, the big one, and the HomePod Mini. So we'll have to wait and see how that looks and if it has a screen on it or what, but I'm honestly pretty excited for that. I've grown to absolutely love my HomePod and my HomePod Minis. Now remember in the last episode where we talked about USB-C coming to the 2023 iPhone? Well, Ming-Chi Kuo has shared more details about Apple's future plans with that USB-C port, and he said this: "Portless iPhones may cause more problems due to current limitations of wireless technologies and the immature MagSafe ecosystem, and other Lightning port products like AirPods, Magic Keyboard, Trackpad, and Mouse, and the MagSafe battery would also switch to USB-C in the foreseeable future." So this answers the question I had last week when I was wondering if everything would switch over to USB-C or if it would just be the iPhone. So it looks like Apple is going to eventually completely phase out Lightning in favor of USB-C, like across the board, which I found to be pretty interesting. I didn't think Apple would ever do it, but looks like we might see that sometime soon. All right, so now let's talk about one of the most hyped Apple products in a long time, and that is the AR/VR headset. So it might be coming sooner than we think. And I say this because Apple board members just recently got their first look at this headset. So Gurman said this in a recent report: Apple executives previewed its upcoming mixed reality headset to the company's board last week, indicating that development of the device has reached an advanced stage. The company's board, made up of 8 independent directors and Apple CEO Tim Cook, convenes at least 4 times a year. A version of the device was demonstrated to the directors during the latest gathering. So it looks like Apple is proud of what they've created and they're showing it off right now. So I don't know, call me crazy, but I think that timing is pretty strange. Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference is just a couple of weeks away. So I don't think, that we could throw out the possibility of the AR/VR headset getting announced at this event. I could see it happening. Now, of course, it's not going to ship to customers. It's not going to ship to us until next year, early next year. But I don't think it's, unlikely that Apple could announce this at the Worldwide Developers Conference. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to see this on June 6th? Or do you think Apple's going to wait until later in the year to reveal that? And then finally, let's discuss a strange and scary story about a lawsuit against Apple and the AirPods. So a 12-year-old boy from Texas allegedly suffered permanent hearing loss when a loud Amber Alert sound came through his AirPods. So the lawsuit alleges that he was using his AirPods Pro and watching Netflix on low volume when the Amber Alert was issued, and it, quote, went off suddenly and without warning at a volume that tore apart his eardrum, damaged his cochlea, and caused significant injuries to his hearing. He will have to wear a hearing aid for the rest of his life. And a big part of this lawsuit is against the AirPods because it claims that the AirPods, quote, do not automatically reduce, control, limit, or increment notification or alert volumes to a safe level that causes them to emit. And there are no directions to adjust the alert sound or warnings that the volume could be so loud that it would cause damage. So this is pretty interesting, and I'm usually against people that sue Apple, just for obvious reasons. But for this one, if it's actually true, if everything they said is true, I think Apple's going to lose that lawsuit. That's pretty crazy. I think they would need concrete proof of these claims, to just make sure he wasn't having issues before that. But that's pretty crazy. And I actually had people in my Discord asking me if it's safe to wear AirPods anymore because of this. So it's definitely affecting the way that some people are kind of seeing and using AirPods now. But let me just say that if you're worried about this happening to you, just turn off Amber Alerts in your settings. So if you go into your settings right here and then go to notifications and then go all the way down to the bottom, just turn off Amber Alerts and everything down here. Just turn off Amber Alerts, emergency alerts, and public safety alerts. Turn all of those off if you're, worried about this in the slightest. And you guys probably know these alerts are pretty loud, but I didn't think they were ever loud enough to damage somebody's hearing permanently. That's pretty crazy. So what do you guys think about this? Have your ears ever been damaged from using AirPods or any other headphones? I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this lawsuit as a whole down in those comments below. But anyways, guys, there you have it. That is the latest batch of Apple news from this past week, along with some additional info on iOS 15.5 and pretty much nothing on 15.6 beta 1, but I still wanted to talk about it in this video. But if you guys enjoyed this one, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe for more iOS 15 and iOS 16 coverage coming very soon. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.